Welcome back, guys, to the Bear and Scully podcast. Me, Sean Scullion, aka Scully, Owen Mall, aka the Bear, in the face for radio behind the seeds, and today we are joined with Chantelle Nicholls.
Hiya.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Chantelle, thank you very much. I'm still slightly confused here, but
It's okay, we'll run with it.
okay. Anyway, so Chantelle, thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to all our listeners tuning back in. Guys, this is where we pitch you. Our Patreon is now live, and you can view next week's episode early, and you can have an interactive exchange with some of our guests and some of the questions. And at some point, Chantelle, we will touch back base with you with some questions that some of the viewers had and put to you, and I'm sure they will. But before we go into it today, and as you always know with the Bear and Scully podcast, that sometimes it can get quite heavy. And we're gonna talk about a very violent situation, and for a lot of people, it's very stressing. We will get around it, but I just like to let people know the heads up. And I think now they've come to know that, we're not going to go into full comedy today. We're going to go more serious. But before we get into that, what about a wee bit about you and where you grew up? And
I grew up in Belfast. Loved life. Always had a zest for life. I have been a bit of a party animal in my day, and then I moved out to County Down and bought my first pony, and everything just changed for a better life, you know. And the saying goes, you can take a girl out of Belfast, but you can't take the Belfast out of the girl. That's not true. I can confirm.
can't an accent, but
So I live quite
where about in
Saintfield.
All right.
So, and I live quite rural off grid, and I love it. And I live quite a sheltered wee life, is what I would say, you know. I've just returned from England, where I was in the pub trade, and that's where I met my then partner. And then I moved back there in January.
So we're going to move on to that. You had you were in a relationship. You had met someone in England. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
You met your partner in England.
Yeah, in Leicester. Yeah.
Your ex-partner. And how did that all come about?
So I had just separated from my husband. It was quite a bit of abusive relationship. We weren't getting on and was separated. And Josh, that was his name, Josh King, he would have been a regular in the pub, and I still continued on to manage the pub on my own without my husband. And he became a friend, somebody to talk to, and Josh had been friends with my ex-husband, and I kind of stepped back with him when he seen what it was like behind the scenes. And we became friends, and then it wasn't planned out, and we ended up together. He had his own place, I lived above the pub, and then, you know, in a very short period of time, then he moved in, and, you know, and then we went from there, really.
How long were you in the relationship?
We were together 2 years.
2 years.
2 years. But from the start, there was problems, you know. There was the drinking, you know. He would cost me the guts of maybe on a stock audit, maybe every 3 months, maybe the guts of £1,000 on alcohol, and that was what he was drinking from the stocks. And what was alarming was, I remember one day I asked him, could he run out and grab me a packet of cheese? Now, this boy worked full time in the council. He had a good income coming in, and he took the money out of the till for the cheese and put the receipt in. And I was sitting the next morning doing my till going, hold on a second, cheese? Why couldn't he buy cheese? Lo and behold, turns out he was gambling all his money, basically, and drinking it in other pubs. So I basically paid for everything from the start.
So when you started dating, just to go back a wee bit, so you started dating, you'd separated from your husband. How long after you'd separated from your husband that you'd started befriending with Josh?
I would say within a couple of weeks, but it was purely on a friendship basis. And it's just, honestly, but I don't know how it happened. You know, I always seen him as a very kind person, you know, I never seen any violent side from him, you know, from what I had seen, you know, from working behind the bar. And I genuinely thought he was a lovely person.
And then when you started dating, how long after you started dating that he moved in to the bar?
Goodness, within 4 weeks, like it was very quick.
Shit.
Yeah.
So, then you're saying that it was costing that not when he moved in. Then did he stop? Did he have a tab then, or did he not? What?
Oh, he just helped himself, basically. And even I had said, like, you know, let me know what you're drinking so I can mark it down. So when it comes to my stock take, I know what, you know, I need to put in, basically. And he wouldn't even do that because he was drinking so much, basically. That's why.
But at the start of every relationship, when you meet someone and there's some red flags, you know, if you're getting on well, you sort of look past them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, because I seen a really lovely, sweet guy. But as soon as he had a drink, my furniture would be getting smashed up. And, you know, there was times that I'd locked him out of the pub, you know, just because I couldn't be annoyed with him. And he could activate my security from his mobile phone, his device. So he would purposely set the alarm off in the building so I couldn't sleep. So I had no choice but to let him back in. And then the next morning it would be full of sorries, you know, not happen again. And
Where did
I
this
was
where did this
soft.
all start? Because you said there that he was a nice guy and there was no, and then he's now breaking up furniture. When did this all start to, you know, happen?
Within a couple of months, you know, within a couple of months he was starting to show, you know, those cracks. And I kind of went, something's not right here, you know, and kind of got down to the bottom of it. And what I gathered was that it was, you know, he spoke a lot about his childhood and his parents breaking up, and I think that caught him up. And then his dog had passed away, and I think the only way was just drink, you know. But he told me he went down the pub for company because he would be just sitting in his own house, you know. But he wouldn't tell me about the gambling, you know, it was all hush hush. I only recently found out about the gambling.
Right. And then, so you were living together, and you're in, and you're starting to, you weren't aware of gambling at the time then?
No. Now his mother had mentioned it to me. And I went, no, he's just playing games, you know, on his phone, you know, and I thought, and I used to think it's not a bad thing because, you know, it's effectively like, to me it was like as if you were doing a word search but just on your phone, you know. But it wasn't, it was gambling, it was games.
Right. And then when did it take a more sinister turn?
It took a more sinister turn when I left the pub, when it was the lead up to leaving. One night I was in bed and he was in the bar with a girl who would be quite well known on TikTok, and she was on a TikTok live basically, and he had said that he had cheated on me, and that had come out. And I you know, because I lived above the pub, and I was more of a go to bed early, get up, you know, early in the morning, do my accounts, have it all done. You know, I would have got up at 5 to do my accounts basically. And then this girl had come and started banging on my door, saying that I was on her live commenting, but turned out somebody had a fake account. Now I was lucky to get that closed down, and I just asked the girl, like, you have to leave. But it went viral. I was publicly humiliated. That's how I felt.
So let me be clear on this. You were upstairs in bed. He was downstairs with our woman on a live TikTok, and he had confessed to cheating to you live on this TikTok.
He didn't know she was live.
So,
Yeah.
well, what way did it? How do you mean he confessed? Like, he didn't know she was live. He didn't know she was on TikTok,
He was that drunk. No, he didn't know.
And was he?
And it was the point where she was in behind the bar helping herself to drink, and, you know, a lot of shots and things like that there.
Well, she's on.
I'm assuming the bar was closed at this stage. It was only the two of them.
No, it was opened.
Right, okay.
It was within licence hours, you know, in fairness. But that just ruined me because so many people were talking about me. It was going over the internet. Because I had come down and I had removed the girl. I just says, like, you know, you
Were you
need
in
to
the middle of
leave.
this live? Did you come in? And put her,
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
could see. So
No,
it's all getting very messy. But
I didn't see, you know, the confession or nothing. It was only the next day. But I could see, you know, this girl kicking off outside the pub and me then asking her to leave when she was inside the pub, you know. I'd even pulled up my phone and went, there's my TikTok there. I went, that's not my picture. First start, that's my picture. And she went, oh, well, it must be a fake account. And I went, it is.
so she's live down in your bar.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in your name's commenting under her
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
This is creating all the commotion. You come
Yeah.
down in the middle of this,
Mm-hmm.
just so I'm getting this all
Yeah,
right.
the girl was banging my flat door, basically.
So so
Yeah.
then in the middle of life, she then decides to go around because she's looking around with you because you.
Yeah.
So somebody's been posting derogatory things to
Mhm.
her, but you're the one's being cheated on.
Mhm.
He's there. This is it's getting quite messy, but I think I've got a
Yeah.
grip of it. And then what all came of that? So this is being shared about, and people's discussing this about.
Mhm. Yeah.
And what did you ask? What did you say to him then when this all became public knowledge?
Obviously he was drunk, he'd went to bed, and the next morning, I'd be honest with you, I was gonna commit suicide. I was that mortified. And I told him this, and he got up and went to work as normal as if nothing had happened. And I actually didn't leave the pub for 3 weeks, my flat, because I was so humiliated by the whole scenario. So that was why I was like, right, I need a fresh start. I need away from this pub, this environment. And then he had, you know, admitted, yes, I did say on the live that I had cheated, and I had, you know. No one been told I had planned a big surprise birthday party for him that he didn't know about. Rolled out the red carpet, caterers, the lot. And I told him, I went, do you realise I've done this for you? You know, and I've just found this out. You know, it was hard. Very, very hard.
And then you left the bar then,
Yeah, left the bar.
but you're still over in Leicester, is that right?
England, we then went to Warwickshire, which was nice because then I'd be closer to family as well, and a bit of a new start really. But then again, you know, not the cheating, but we would call it the Friday specials. Josh would have one too many drinks and create a scene in the bar. And I had to make a business decision of, right, I have to come out of this because he's going to ruin my reputation, you know. And I worked so hard to get to where I was, you know, because so many people had failed me that I couldn't do it. I couldn't have a pub and I couldn't get a personal license, and I got it. You know, most people, it takes 10 years. I done it within 4 months. I've gone into the trade. My father trained me, put me through my personal license, and I had my own city centre pub. You know, and I was thriving at that time in my life, you know, because I was so proud of my achievements.
But then you decided to leave it
I
because
did, yeah. Yeah, because when that happened, you know, everybody was talking about it, and it wasn't like it was yesterday's news. It continued on, you know, that way. In hindsight, that should have been when I went, this is enough, we're over, do you know? But I think at the time I was very vulnerable, would be want for a better word. And I think because I seen the sweet side, the nice side of Josh, I believed he did have a good heart, really. It was the alcohol, you know, and then I narrowed it down so he couldn't drink spirits, top shelf. So I went, look, you're not drinking that, no shots. And he'd be fine on lager, you know, absolutely fine. And he did cut it out, and I will give him his dues. He did give up drinking, you know, because I had to say to him, look, you know, you either give this up or the pubs go. I mean, he had his own pub, I funded it. How many girlfriends get you your own pub?
you got him as pub.
I got him his own pub.
Right, I need the just because my mind's going 100 miles an hour here. So he was working in the council,
Yeah, and he left.
and then you've moved, and you've got another bar.
Yeah, I got him one in Derby, and then I took one in Warwickshire and Aveston.
Are they far from each other?
Not really, no. So we done the both of them together, but it was pretty clear that it wasn't meant to be the two of us because we often clashed. You know, I don't drink even though I've pubs.
You didn't drink at all during this?
No, not really. Maybe I would have the odd cup of Cottonburg cider. That's it. You know, I would rather be out. I would rather be outdoors on my horse on a Sunday morning than sitting with a hangover. Put it that way. That's me.
But just for clarity here, you had left that other bar because he was drinking heavily, or was the embarrassment of
The embarrassment.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, but you wanted to remain within the pub trade.
I did, yeah, and it also his behaviour. It also highlighted to the local licensing as well, you know, and
So then, how did if this? And I'm trying to. I want to be delicate.
yes,
How did a man that's obviously got a drink issue and a gambling issue, the next progressive step was to get a pub? Was there not in your
he
head?
wanted his own pub.
Did you not think that you've got a problem with drinking and mixing that and that it's not going to go very well? It's a bad environment by the sounds of the setup that was going on.
Yeah,
The Jeremy Kyle
yes,
live TikTok jobs.
he did clean his act up,
Right.
you know, and then I did, you know, regain that trust, and you know, it did come back, and I went, right, okay, let's, you know, push him in the right direction and make something of his life, you know, because I felt, you know, that's what he needed.
Were you still living together?
Yes, we were, yeah.
Aye, so you weren't like in one pub and in the other pub, but you
Sometimes it would have been, obviously, you know, because, you know, the licensee must be there. But he didn't have ambition, whereas I thought he did have ambition, you know. I mean, I even put him through his personal license, and a friend had done that, and he didn't even send away for the application form or nothing. You know, he just no ambition, you know. But it was pretty bumpy at the start. A lot of red flags.
Well, and you know, like I try honestly, I try not to
Yeah.
be, because I know a lot of people when they watch things, they're like, "Hello, you know, what's going on? Where were you at?"
Yeah.
But it's okay for other people, and it's okay to have hindsight and judge this. So I do try not to, but I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of things going off my head, pushing, helping, whatever way you wanted to get a pub when he's got a problem with drink sounds weird to me. The rationale behind, we'll take away the top level of spirits because he's okay in there. It all just seems to me as a wee bit. But he had stopped drinking then.
Yeah,
Was
he
there a point?
did,
What come
yeah.
about then? Was the relationship still as turbulent?
Yeah, well, no, I just says, look, you either knock it in the head or that's it, you know, and I just said I can't be annoyed with it no more, you know, I'm too old in the tooth, you know, it's just not my scene. And he did pack it in, and he was doing really, really well.
So when you give him an ultimatum, he did opt not to drink.
Yeah, yeah.
But was there any? So you're saying about all the chaos and the breaking of furniture and the stuff that went on. When you moved bars and away from that, and you found out that he's cheated on you, and he's admitted to that, and you've had to give up your bar, and you moved away. What was the circumstances in the relationship at that point? How were you?
All right. I mean, I'd lost my grandmother, and I think with the grieving, I just didn't need any more hassle in my life. It was easy just to go along with things, if that makes sense, because I don't think I was in the right frame of mind at the time. And I think, again, this is where the vulnerability came from, you know, and losing my grandmother and how she passed as well, you know, she rallied in death for me. So I think that's where the vulnerability came from, and the, okay, I'll just put up with it type thing, and that was the attitude.
But what were you putting up with at this point?
it would be, you know, he would still have like a Friday special. So say I went away for the weekend with a friend or something, oh, he was straight on the drinks as soon as I went out the door, you know, and I'd be sitting watching the cameras. And I remember being in Wales and getting all these messages at 5:30, 4:30 in the morning, and I'm going, what has happened? And I'm going, I'm in Wales, you know, and my heart, you know, was at a horse sale, and the anxiety I had that day, because I didn't know what I was returning to, you know, because I'm very much, yes, you live above these pubs, but you must leave your business, your personal business in the living quarters. You know, you must remain, you know, professional. And it got to that point where I just said, like, you know, the pubs are going to go. You know, and I pretty much had put my foot down and says, you know, if I don't, it's going to rain him. You know.
So then you give him the ultimatum,
Mm-hmm.
and he decided he was going to stop drinking. Did he do this with help, or did?
No, we just stopped. Do you know he did? And I'll give him his dues. He done really, really well when he stopped. And then he would have only had a couple of, you know, shandies, and he was fine, and he could stop. You know, and that night in Lanzarote, he had drank spirits, and, well, you've seen the video, you know.
Well, we've just jumped right forward there, but so
So
obviously,
before Lanzarote, sorry, did you give up the pub then? Had you give up the pub before?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it did come to a head, saying, "Look, can't be involved in this here
I needed a
anymore."
career break. I just, because I'd put my head down, you know, with grieving and other things going on in my life, I just buried my head, and I went, I need a break. And I came home, do you know, and I brought my horses home as well in tow.
oh, so you give up the bars and come back?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, right.
But the relationship continued.
Yeah.
The relationship continued. Yeah.
But the relationship was dead. You know, I mean, he may not have been on the top pay in the pub, but, you know, he was just on average pay. But he had all his bills paid for him. Everything was all inclusive. You know, food, he never had to put his hand in his pocket. You know, then it would be, oh, I spent my wages, I've no money for cigarettes, and I would pay for them. Wouldn't get the money in return. But this was the thing, he got so used to just my bank card, you know. And I could see my savings, you know, gradually dropping, you know. And I took him on, we went on a cruise, you know. And I went and I paid for that luxury cruise, 2 weeks, Spain, Portugal, Canaries. And he liked it, but he wasn't very grateful for it, you know. And I kind
Well,
of...
so did he move over here with you?
He did, yeah.
And then did he start working in a bar? Was that what you were saying?
No, he wouldn't work over here.
Oh, so he wasn't working. Then I thought he owned a bar out there, or was he in wages? What
No,
was he?
no.
Right, okay.
We moved back here, and this is how Lanzarote had started, because he had told his mother a lie, and I found out about the lie. He said that he couldn't get a job because he was looking after all 4 of my horses, which was a lie, because my horses were out in the field. They were looked after. He had one job that he lasted 3 days in, and I had said to him, right, you're working, are you going to contribute towards the bills? And I worked out the bills. And he says, well, I'll give you £70 a week. And I turned around to him and I went, £70 a week? I says, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. and taking you to work. I don't go back until 6 a.m. I have to then collect you at 3 p.m. and I don't go back to 4 p.m. That's 2 hours out of my day. Plus do 4 horses, plus clean the house, do washing, do cooking, cleaning, you know, as you do. And I managed that, but he turned around and said to his mother that he was doing everything, and this is why he couldn't get a job, and he was looking after my horses. And I said that was a lie. And on the last day of his work, I says, you know what, I'm not taking you, you can get your own way there. I goes, for £70 a week, that's, you know, it was a kick in the teeth.
So were you working at this point?
No.
And this was his 3rd day of working?
Yeah. And I says to him, how much did your flat cost in Leicester? And he says about £300 a week. And I went, you're offering £70, you know. But he was so used to me paying everything, you see, that's what it was. And I stopped it at Christmas. On Christmas Eve, I found out about his gambling. And it was an argument, and I says, look, I want to see your bank. And when I looked at his bank, the amount of money he was spending on gambling, he was gambling a couple of £100 a week.
Chantelle, I need to intervene here because I'm too
Yeah.
over the place. You told me you only found out recently, was speaking to his mum, he's gambling, and now it was at Christmas time. It's so hard to follow because
Yeah.
he was working or he's in the bar or he owned that bar and we're over here. Just so we
He
know.
managed the bar. I funded it. It was my pub, but I gave him a management position.
Right.
You know, Josh was very good with technical side of things for pubs, the cellar management, things like that. Whereas I'd be better back of house since the whole TikTok thing that happened. My love for working on a bar just died then, you know. But he did work for the council. He left, and then I employed him and gave him a management position. And then obviously when the pubs went, that just died basically. So when he came over here, he had then got a job for a couple of days doing road works basically.
And then how long after that then you were here? How long was he living over here with you?
Only a couple of months, very short period of time, but I knew it was over at Christmas. You know, when I says, look, I'm going, I don't care what you're doing, if you're staying here or coming, it's up to you. And I did, I came back and he came back, and he was very lazy, you know, he wouldn't help around the house. I'd gone to stay with a friend for a week because her wee dog was having puppies and we weren't sure what day they were due. I asked him to do one thing for me, and that was turn the washing machine on, just hit start, the tablets and everything were in it. I arrived back, the washing machine hadn't even been turned on. He just lay on his phone the whole week playing games.
So you had then you booked a holiday, and at that point, what were you hoping, that it was the relationship over? Was he still wasn't drinking at this point?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. I just needed a holiday because given the whole past year and the move and things like that, and the weather as well, I was like, God, this weather's awful over here, you know, and I booked a wee holiday. And see, if he says I'm not going, I still would have went on my own, you know. I just needed to get away and have some SOS time, you know.
It didn't turn out that way.
No.
No. Do you want to talk us through heading out to Lanzarote?
So we went to Lanzarote. Started good. We were having a couple of drinks in the evening. He was fine. He was leaving it, you know, going out for food. His friend that used to work in the council had retired out there, and he was saying about meeting him, and I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to send him out for the day so I can get a wee pill day and listen to my audiobook and just sunbathe generally, you know. And I says, well, look, why don't you go? I says, go out for the day. And he did. He was like, come with me. And I went, look, I just want a wee bit of SOS time for me. You know, I want to sit with an audiobook. I says, sure, come back in the evening and we'll go out for a meal. You know, and I thought, there's not many women will send you out down the pub or a bar on your holiday, really, is there? Do you know, I thought I was doing a good thing, you know. And he went and met this fella, but obviously I found out about the lie he told his mother. And I asked him 2 weeks before going to Lanzarote, tell the truth. Because now if I was a mother, I would look at that and go, hold on, she's holding up my son there. And that would just be me personally. And he says, I'm going to. But he hadn't. And I asked him when we were on holiday, and I says, did you tell your mum the truth? And I didn't say it in a malice way neither. I just wanted to know. And he says, no, I haven't. And I says, well, you need to do that. I said, because this is ridiculous. You know, you've painted a bad picture of me. That's when I realised he was a narcissist. Because the amount of times he had painted me in such a bad light over... He'd even emailed breweries, you know, and tried to paint me in a really bad light with, you know, when he was essentially pissed off, you know. So I had said to him, look, you haven't told the truth, you know, I'm deeply upset. And the fact that he mentioned my animals, I've no children, but they're my children, you know. And I just said, look, and I felt everything had died between us, you know. And I just said, look, I think we need to call it a day, but I would like us to still enjoy our holiday. Now, luckily in our hotel, there was 2 spare rooms. But you see, as the day went on, his attitude started to change. And I went, he's had top shelf. He's been drinking spirits.
So let me be clear in the events leading up to this. You'd said go on ahead on out, but when did this conversation exchange about the mother and we were going separate ways? Was he...
The morning, it was the night before about the mother, and then on the morning of him going out, and I said, you know, you need to tell the truth. And he then came back, and he, you know, he did, but he still didn't tell the full truth, you know.
But I don't... sorry to
No,
be...
you're all right.
Because if I was following along and listening to this, I'm very confused. You had a conversation with him saying, look, I think we're finished and we're going to go back. You've told your mother lies. But you also just said there that I told how many women would tell their partner to go on ahead on out. So was this conversation before this or after this, or was this during this, or when did you decide?
It was before and pretty much during, because he wouldn't drop the subject.
Right, okay. And then he was out with his friend at this point, and you'd seen a behaviour change. Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And was this through messages or phone calls or
messages? And I just knew.
Like, what type of messages? What do you mean? Like, are they you know, what was coming across to you that I think
he's the victim and I'm the enemy? That's what he used to always make out when he was drunk. And I just said, look, you know, you've had quite a lot to drink, and I'm assuming top shelf, and he denied it. And then he basically said he had. And he said, look, I'll go and stay with my friend tonight. And I was like, okay, no worries, do you know. Because it said to him, go out, have drinks, but we'll go out for dinner. So obviously don't be getting pissed up, you know, essentially.
But I thought this man wasn't drinking anymore.
He would have, on holidays, yes, when I say a couple of drinks, we're talking maybe two shandies. Tops, you know, but that was it, really.
So then what had happened?
So he says, I'll go stay with my friend. I says, right, okay. I says, perfect. I says, I tell you what, I'll see you tomorrow. I says, and we'll see what we can do as far as getting another room in the hotel. Because I knew you'd be drinking now the rest of the week, and I couldn't be annoyed with him, and I wanted to enjoy my holiday. So I got things like messages like, I've lay in that bed naked all week and you haven't touched me. And, you know, when I was kind of going like, well, I shouldn't have to make the first move here, you know. And he says, you just get into bed and you turn away from me. Do you know, is that not a big sign that things aren't normal, you know? So he started all this, and, you know, I'm the worst person in the world. And I just said, right, okay. He says, look, I'll see you tomorrow and give you your passport and things like that there. And he went, fine. And then I had a phone call from my best friend, and he went, what are you doing? And I said, what do you mean, what am I doing? He says, I've had Josh on the phone, and he's saying you're being hard work. And once I told him, he went, right, he goes, he's told me a totally different story. So he tried to manipulate my friend against me, essentially. And he told my friend, and this was before the attack took place, because my friend said, look, you're very drunk, Josh. Go and sleep in a sun lounger or something, you know, and sober up. And that's what he was told to do. And his exact words were, F her, I've had a double rum and she's not kicking me out of my hotel. You know, and hung up the phone, and then that's when he came up and done what he done.
So then he returned back to the hotel, to the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And then what unfolded? He
came staggering up. I had actually gone to bed because I was going horse riding the next morning on an excursion, and I kind of, because I thought, well, he's going to be there, you know, I can have an early night, you know, and I'll meet up with him in the morning. And the next thing, the door is banging. So I'm like, and I ignored it. And I thought, he'll go away. But then, no, it got worse. And I come up and I went to the window, and it was, you caused this, you know, this is you. And he had that much force in him. He had literally put the window in with his hands. You know, the anger, the rage in him. And I was going, no, no, you know. And then he started kicking the door, and I thought, right, he can't get in through the door. But he had started, there was like dishes on the window because the sink was there. He had started throwing them across the place. So I'm ducking, you know, and at this point I'm on the phone to the police because I'm going, this is really going to go down here, do you know? And I was fearful of like the both of us getting arrested or getting in trouble, or, do you know? And it was so weird, the timing of it, because reception closes at 12 o'clock. This happened at 11:30. This attack. If that had, you know, I couldn't imagine what it would be like if it was after 12. So the door then came in. But I, you know, I told the police where I was, come off the phone, and he came in through the door. He had charged at me, and of course I'm like ducking out of the way and things. But my grandmother always used to say to me when I was a young girl, if you're ever in trouble and you're ever being attacked, or you're in a fight and you can't defend yourself, she used to say to me, you cover your beautiful face. And whenever he came in, I just had a gut feeling that I was screwed. And my grandmother used to say, there's so much technology these days. Turn your phone on or phone somebody. And you know, I did. I turned my phone on video and I threw it down on the sofa. And he came in, he had beaten me up first, choked me. And he kept saying, you've ruined my life, you've ruined my life. But I think he was saying that because he knew what he was going to do. And he knew he was going to go to jail for what he you know, I think he had the intent to come up and do what he did. And I just froze basically and covered myself as best I could. And then people from the hotel had come up, guys had come up to the room to you know, try and get me out. And he went and lifted a kitchen knife, and he had went out and was like, I have a knife, and chased them off. Then he came back in, and he was it was like something out of a horror film. And he stood there with a knife in his hand, just looking at me. And I just went, Josh, please don't think of the dogs, because we have dogs. You know, it scares me that he could have took me away, and then them animals wouldn't have had me, and friends I know wouldn't have give up on them and would have been lumbered with them. And he wouldn't, and he then stabbed me with a knife repeatedly. And I was able to kick him off. The worst word I said to him was, you stabbed me, you cunt. I think it was just sheer shock. And he stumbled when I kicked him. The knife had got me then down the leg, but the knife had dropped and he couldn't get the knife. So he had then picked up like a shear of glass, and he then started stabbing me with that all down my left side of my body. I had a big stab wound underneath my arm, my fingertip as well. The fingertip was that bad they couldn't stitch it. There was so much of it. And then again, he was disturbed by residents, because they were still trying to get me out of the room because they seen it all happen from outside. And he again went after them. So I remember I couldn't I was in shock. My breathing was like, and then I couldn't hear. So I actually paused, like stopped breathing for a second so I could hear. And I went, right, he's far enough away. And I ran to the bathroom, but there was a lot of glass all smashed on the ground. And I just ran for it over the glass and got in the bathroom. The door wouldn't lock, but there was a wall really with a couple of feet behind the door. So I was able to put my back against the wall and my legs against the door. He then came back in. He had lifted a kitchen chair and started, turn down the door, and he was coming through the door. And I'm begging him, please stop it. You've stabbed me. The blood's gushing out of me and I can't do gore. I'm surprised I didn't faint, to be honest with you. And he's still persistent and again disturbed. Then it went silent. And I went, what's going on? And I then opened the bathroom door and I juked round and he was just lay on the floor at the door of the hotel room in the apartment with his phone here, like recording, saying, I'm Josh King. I've just carried out this attack. And there was men at the door and they went, shh, go back in. The police are on their way. And I went, no. And I ran and I jumped over him. And he did try to grab me, but the guys had me by the arms at this point and they had pulled me out. And the blood was just everywhere. And luckily, touch wood, there was a doctor staying there at that hotel and he was able to apply pressure to the wound, and the police turned up, an ambulance as well, and they're trying to put me in a chair and I'm, I don't know, it must have been adrenaline. I'm, no, I'm fine, I'll walk, I'm very independent. And I went, look, I need to go back to the room, there's things I need to get. No, and I went, no. And the things I needed to get was my grandmother's ashes that I have in a bracelet, my Uncle Michael's Bible, and my wee dog's ashes. They're my 3 most prized, valuable things in life. And then I went in the ambulance, but as I passed him, they had him handcuffed down on the ground, face down, and he kept shouting English, English, English. So he still hadn't calmed down. He was still in that rage of anger. And I just looked at him as I walked past and I just says, scumbag, rotten hell. And I walked and got into the ambulance and they were so lovely. They took me to the hospital. They brought me into like a resus type room and they started like trying to see what needed stitched. And they says, right, okay, we'll sedate you. And I went, no. Because in my mind, with the shock I'd just gone through, if they sedated me, I'd maybe die. And then nobody would know that this has happened to me, And that's what I was fearful. And I says, no. I says, look, just do it. And they went, it's going to be sore. And I went, look, just do it. And they did. They had to inject the wound with a needle to freeze it all and then start stitching. But see, the kindness that those hospital staff give me was so caring and compassionate. They washed me from head to toe because I was covered in blood. They stitched me up, that they cleaned me. They then brought me into a wee side room. And again, this whole experience taught me that I wasn't alone, because I was on my phone and trying to get in contact with people. I'm in this side room and there was like a window, but out in the corridor the lights were out because it was nighttime. And I have a recording of me and my nanny's last conversation together, and she was giving me advice, before she died. And I could never get this video to play for a couple of years. And all of a sudden the video started playing. But at the corner of my eye, there was a shadow out looking in the window. And I looked and I teared up and I went, I'm not on my own. She's here with me. Now that could be maybe shock or a thing, but it's just a bit of a coincidence that this video just starts playing on my phone. A video I couldn't play for, a few years. And then a police officer had then come to the hotel and he says, right, we need you in court tomorrow, which was a Sunday. He says, and if you don't go to court, this is going to fall through. And I went, right, okay. You know, because I was like, he's not, this isn't fair. You know, the whole time, all I thought about was my animals. You know, my family. Then I also wickedly thought, yes, the man I love. Yes, I'm not in love with him, but I still care about him. You know, and you hear all these stories about foreign countries and being arrested, and I was just thinking, God, I hope nothing bad happens to him. And so the police officer says, you know, you'll need to take yourself to the court. I says, no problem. Come the next morning, I managed to get a couple of hours sleep. There was a couple of police officers and they came and they said, we'll come to take you to court. I went, all right, okay. Went, but we need to stop at the police station on the way because we need to ask you some questions, and then we'll take you to your hotel and we will get you changed and ready for court. So I was right, okay. And I was in agony, like I had black eyes, I had bruises all down my face. I just wanted to be in bed, you know. And I mean, I hadn't even eaten or nothing. And at one point they were even talking about doing a blood transfusion because I'd lost so much blood.
What was the full extent of your injuries?
So the full extent was he stabbed me here, which he was
What did he stab you with?
a kitchen knife.
That was the knife.
The knife on the arm, the leg, the finger. And then the glass, the shards of glass was like all down my hands, down the side of my body, and on my legs. But he had repeatedly like punched me to the head, you know, like my eyes were really swollen. I was just sore. I felt like somebody had drove over me and reversed back over me. And then went to the police station and they were asking, was he possessive? And I'm going, no, he's not. That's one thing about him. He wasn't possessive, you know, and that to me was a good thing, you know. And that was fine. They had an interpreter there. They had arranged it all. Took me to the hotel where the hotel manager was there and greeted me. The doctor that had treated me at the hotel before the ambulance, he had come running down the stairs, bless him, and put his arms around me. And he was like, you're a really strong girl to be standing here today. And I went, well, we just have to get on with it, you know. Have to look at the brighter side of things, you know. And but inside, I just wanted to cry and scream and hibernate. But I think, you know, especially when you're in the pub trade, you learn to put a smile on, do you know? And then the hotel manager said, look, you have to leave the hotel. And I went, hold on a wee second. I went, I haven't done anything wrong. I was attacked. And he tried to actually charge me for the damages. And the police officer went, look, we've got the full video. It was Josh and not this girl here. So the hotel went, right, okay. And they says, look, if you want, you know, put this through your insurance and stuff, you're going to need to take them for criminal damages. So I'm going, great, now I need to find a hotel. And instead of phoning the tour operator, I just went on and booked one. I was staying in Lanzarote Paradise.
So, wait a wee minute. You have been stabbed, you've been hospitalised. The hotel has instructed you that you must pay. What way did they work?
Pay for the damages in the room.
You had booked the holiday.
Yeah.
You were the name on the room.
Yep.
I know it sounds cool. I'm just trying to figure out where they were at, and they asked you to leave. Then what? Did you go to court that day?
I did, yeah.
What happened in the court?
So I got ready and I went to court and they brought me in and they opened the court up on a Sunday. I'm sitting going, it's a Sunday. And they went, oh, no, like in emergencies we open up, and they brought in a judge. So his solicitor, they had an interpreter there as well. She was lovely. They had a solicitor there for me. We were sitting in the courtroom and his solicitor was trying to get him bail. And they had a team of forensics look at me, like specialists, like look at the wounds and the hospital reports. And while we were in the hearing, they had adjourned it because the report had just come back. And that's when they went, like, you know, it's attempted murder here, you know, it's worse than what we thought. So he was denied bail and to appear for his trial the following day. And then the next day, again, attended the court, the police. I'd went to a hotel then that evening. Knowing that he was remanded did give me a bit of relief, to be honest with you. I went to a hotel that the girl says to me when I left, she goes, when you walked in that door, I just knew there was something wrong with you. They didn't even take payment off me until I left. You know, it's the amount of kind and compassionate people I met during that experience was lovely. I mean, even the hospital on the way out, I went, oh, I need to pay. Do you know, I was just flustered and I went, no, you don't pay. In a foreign country where you pay for your medical and all that work they'd done on me essentially, and I didn't have to pay. Then
he had been remanded.
Mm-hmm.
You had got another hotel. What was the next step in the proceedings?
So I then had to appear to court the next day. It was a very long day because it was on a Monday and there was other cases and they wanted to do his to the last. So the judge had reviewed the actual evidence that was on that day, and he had said to him, it's 9 years if you plead not guilty, but if you plead guilty and we have a speedy trial, we will give you 4 years. And he accepted it, and he showed no remorse.
What did they say? Did they just guilty, no comment?
He availed he didn't testify, he didn't say a word.
So he accepted the guilty plea?
Yeah, he accepted the guilty plea. I asked the interpreter, you know, was there any remorse? Because she was representing him too. She says no.
I just want to go back on that.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he accepted the guilty plea. He admitted the guilty plea. And I want to be very clear because some people might actually find that very hurtful that I'm saying it that way, and I don't mean it in that way. But he then, because they do plea bargain in Spain, and they do expedite their trials very quickly. So 2 days after the incident, he received a 4-year prison sentence. So it was then that day.
Yeah.
Did he enter his plea and then get a sentence in after that? Was there a report made?
So it accepted that. What they done was a speedy trial, because it says on the documents, they give me all the court papers. So what they done was they tried to basically make it as quick as possible, and so that I wouldn't have to return because I'd already gone through enough. But if needed, I could appear via video link. So he appeared then for the sentencing, and then they done like another one, which was 10 days away from that date, which was called a confirmation. And that was it. And he went down then. But on the day of the court, they brought me in to this little room, and there was like a white, how would you call it, a white panel. He was at the other side of that, and I was here. And they basically said, you know, do you agree to everything you've said? And, you know, if you don't want this to go any further, now's the time, because you can't go back on it. And I was going, yep, no, I agree to all this. And I could hear the sobs of him. I could hear him crying. You know, he was crying like a wee child. And I did. I felt really sorry for him. Even though what he done to me, I felt sorry for him. So then it sent me out of the room, and I sat in the wee room and I went, no, that's too long, because we're looking at 10 years at this point. Originally I went, that's too long. And I walked back in the room and I says, look, I says, I know what he's done's wrong. I says, and nothing's going to change what he's done. But I think 10 years is very excessive. And the interpreter said to me, you know, if you let him off of this, you're showing your body no respect. He's damaged you in areas. And she was right. And she goes, from this day on, you trust me, you will be a stronger woman, and you will have respect for yourself.
And this was your interpreter, said this thing?
And she says to me, she says, you're a really lovely girl, and how you've stood so strongly throughout the past 2 days. She goes, I've never seen strength like it. And my exact words were, if you'd met my nanny, you would see why I have that strength, because I'm cut from the same cloth.
It's very weird that the interpreter would offer opinions on the sentence and
Yeah, she was
because
lovely. She's actually kept in touch as well. We spoke since. Really, really lovely woman.
the reason I say that is more from our objective point. They're not
Yeah,
supposed to have an input in that. They don't interpret what you say.
that's right. Yeah.
But you did say something to me, and I found it very alarming, that the advice that your granny would give you, you know, some people might find that weird, that the advice she'd give you is if you're ever being attacked, to protect your face and video it. It feels a weird thing to say for a grandmother, like, you know, as opposed to some people saying, my grandmother told me one time, you know, when you're baking a cake, you make sure you put it on a rack, you know, and I'm being very thing, but
Yeah.
what the reason I'm leading to this is there is a recording of it, and I have watched it, and it's very hard to actually put into words. It turned my stomach, and it was very, very graphic, and it I don't think we're going to use it. Because the reason being, A, we can't put that on social media.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to. And B, for anybody that's experienced a traumatic attack, it would be very triggering.
Yeah.
That all went in the space of a holiday, from heading off with somebody messed you in to say to go. Had there been violence before? Had he ever been violent with you? Was this the first time?
Not towards me, no. But towards like furniture, things like that. Never towards me. Never towards me. And, you know, even the judge had found that, you know, and the police were like, never. And I went, never towards me.
When that was all over and you came home, where were you? And I know that's a hard question, and it's a very broad question, but where you know, you went off with your partner, and you've come home, and his official sentence was for attempted murder. He pleaded guilty to attempted murder, and what was the official sentence he got?
It was GBH.
So he didn't
With
plead guilty
intent.
till attempted murder.
No, that when you go through the court system in Spain, they'll bring you in, but it's dropped one if you go in for an early plea. So they'll drop it down one category.
So it's
for an
GBH with
early.
intent. But
Yeah.
there's a slightly different way you're looking at that. So he got sentenced for GBH with intent.
Yeah.
And he pleaded guilty. What was his actual sentence?
What do you mean?
What was the length of time his sentence?
Oh, 4 years. But he must do the full 4 years. It's not like here where you do half of the time. But there's a possibility that he could get a transfer, you know, back to the UK. But apparently it's a pretty long and daunting process.
It'll take as long as the sentence. Some of them, I've seen some of the ones getting extradited to come home and do their sentence. It takes the length of time, sometimes of 10-year sentence. But so this happened when did he receive his sentence?
On the Monday.
No. What date? What date?
Oh gosh, I'm not good with dates now.
When was the holiday?
We went the last week, so we were there. The attack happened, was it on the 28th? I'd have to get my phone and look at the dates. I'm
but
really
I mean,
bad with dates.
no, but I mean, was this a year ago, 2 years ago? When?
No, it was only 7 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and the reason I asked that is because I wanted to know afterwards what steps you had taken, you know, because that's very traumatic what's happened, and it's very recent.
Yeah, I come from a really strong bloodline of family, do you know, very strong women, you know, and it's like my grandmother left this big legacy behind. And I used to say, I'll never fill my nanny's legacy, do you know, I'll never fill her boots. But I think this whole process has. And I think she'll be very proud. And I think that's what's kept me going. because by me showing my strength, and if I can raise awareness and I can save one person with just that you know, that one bit of advice, then I'll it's my way of saying thanks to the universe for saving me.
The only thing, my one worry here, Chantelle, is 7 weeks ago. And something like that, we have dealt with a lot of people that have a very traumatic experience. To process, to do that, it's not enough time to have to think about it and go through it and really make sure you're okay about it.
So what I done was I came home, I got it out my house, I spent time in my animals, I spent time outdoors, audiobooks, walking, you know. And, you know, I was offered lots of therapies, but my therapy is outside with my horses, you know, and it's really taught me my worth, this whole process, and how resilient and strong I am. So I've taken the positive side of it. I don't know whether I'll get triggers, you know. Now, I have been prescribed beta blockers to help with a little bit of anxiety. I don't know, I could be in a situation in a pub where something kicks off and that's where a trigger could come in. Hopefully, fingers crossed that it's not, you know. But I do believe a lot in self-care and nature. And I think that's what's been a big sort of medicine for me, so to speak, you know. But I feel a lot lighter because I don't have that baggage no more in my life. There's not somebody there that I'm having to moan, like, get up and get a shower, because it was that point where he wasn't even showering. You know, when I felt like his mother because I was having to tell him, you know, I don't have to answer to anybody now. And I'm just living in the, you know, that I'm so grateful to be alive and so strong. And, you know, I hope one day that my children will look and go, my mum was strong. I'm going to be strong too. But also I've learned, you know, even the strongest women, you know, that they can be emotional, you know, have emotional breakdowns and things like that, you know, when they might need a little bit of help, you know. But this whole situation, I can't accept that I'm a victim. I'm a survivor.
I'm going to have to be honest. I think me and Sean are going to have a conversation after here. I'm not 100% sure if I feel okay that just 7 weeks after that we're going to have this go out, for the simple reason is there's so many things there that there's questions, and when you go through something so traumatic like that, to say in 7 weeks you're ready for people, I hope, and I really hope and hope that is, but we have dealt with so many domestic abuse and traumatic experiences, and we know that it takes time and there's a lot going on here, so we will have that conversation and we will see where we're at here.
So
but
I grew up around a lot of trauma. I had a lot of trauma in my childhood, you know, and I think as well that's why I cope and again get a lot of resilience.
But like it definitely, I've seen the video and it's absolutely brutal, and that's why I'm saying that. And it's a we do this podcast. We're not trained on how to do these things.
Yeah.
But there is an onus on us now to be mindful of not just the people, that to be mindful of yourself or guests, and mindful of the message we're delivering. And we've had people that have suffered and horrific experiences, and they talked us through it, and they're still facing it. And we need to make sure that, you know, the message that we're delivering is there. And like, I know you've been a victim of that, and that's why I'm saying that, because it's, you know, the physical wounds, like 7 weeks is, you know, you can still see on your face. The physical wounds haven't completely healed.
You see, to me, you know, I'm now cleared to horse ride again, and you know, so it was very hard not being able to horse ride, because that is my release, you know, and now I can return to that. But so many people says to me, like, the compassion you have, and I'm going, well, you know, I don't need the credit. It's my grandmother should get the credit, because that's how she reared me.
Well, look, I want to thank you for coming up.
Yeah, thank you.
I really do, and I want to wish you the best.
Thank you.
And we will include links, but as I said,
just as Owen's saying there, we've talked it through,
Mm-hmm.
but you actually sent the videos through beforehand
Mhm.
whenever you had
Yeah.
recorded it, and it was traumatic to watch. It was traumatic to even listen to.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It
the sounds
turned
and everything
Yeah, I
else.
mean, even when I watch it, it does give me shivers. But that's only when I watch it, because I'm a glass half full type person in life, and I think I can create a bit of awareness, create a strong legacy, and maybe help others as well, you know, through the process, or join them while I'm going through the process. But I'm very much a person that I can turn myself off and just move on in my life, you know. And I know there's a lot of people, and I think people struggle in different ways and things like that there, you know. But I mean, I haven't really spoken about it, you know, and whenever I'm ready, I'll speak about it. And that's why, you know, I am speaking about it now, you know, because I've got over the emotions of, but, you know, a lot of people says, oh, but this was a man you loved and you've come back like this, and went, yes, but things weren't right before we went. And I believe whenever I break up with somebody, I've broken up with them maybe 3 months before, you know, and this is what I've learned about myself. So that's why I think the whole process of, you know, parting ways was a light on my life. You know, things were lighter for me.
well, look, I wish you all the best, and thank you very much.
Thank
Chantelle.
you.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Yes,
Thank
thank you.